This week on Bravo Outsider, Lexi is the goth son on Home Improvement.
The cherry on top is him saying his hall pass is the Little Mermaid, which is just like sicko shit.
Yeah.
Like Michelle's in like the ninth circle of hell, like just going through the most awful shit. And Nia just goes over and is like, "Hi, I heard you were a little upset."
Hello and welcome to the Bravo Outsider podcast. I'm your host, Craig Midwinter, joined as always by Dylan Ferguson. We didn't have a show last week. I'm sorry, I had a manicure. But this week we're going to be talking about Summer House and the Valley. I want to start with the Valley because that's what is on my mind. Dylan, do you want to give us a little bit of a summary as to what happened here?
Yeah, they're down on like a wine place, drinking some wine, going on the trip organized by Jesse. You know, van breaks down. Jesse's drunk as hell. They get there and, you know, things start to really blow up between Michelle and Jesse, who should not be left alone together. Danny rolls up as we're getting later into the day, and he starts just getting drunk as hell, too.
Yeah.
Passes out, provoking a discussion about whether it's fair or not to point out the fact that he has an alcoholism problem and just passed out in the other room. Yeah, that's a back of the envelope summary.
Awesome. Yeah, I thought this was really great. There's a few scenes that really stood out to me, but really the center of this episode is Jesse and Michelle's confrontation, or the two confrontations that they had. We had the first round was at the winery, and then the second round back at the villa. Really, really great stuff. I mean, this week there is a battle for who could be the worst Jesse on Bravo, and it's hard to say because it's pretty close. But yeah, I think like Jesse is just putting on a clinic at being a villain here. What was your take on this?
Yeah, he is great for that. He is so good at being an asshole between like when he just like goes as cold as possible when he provokes Michelle and will just like turn into a statue just waiting for her to get worked up. And then once they're in like a one-on-one conversation with nobody else around, we'll just casually be like, "Oh, and you're a lying, cheating whore," or whatever, and tries to pass it off like it's just a chill, normal thing, and that he's like the level-headed one. Everything he's doing is to provoke and needle her and try to make her life as difficult as possible. And he is an expert at that.
What stood out to you as far as the presentation of this episode goes?
When they are Jesse and Michelle alone on that balcony together, but they are alone separately as well. And I really like the way that the cameras capture that. It has a bit of a kind of we grabbed the cameras at the last moment and filmed what we could vibe to it. It is pretty handheld. It is peeking around corners. It's not direct setups. But what's really striking about it is, as for most of it, you see either Michelle speaking to Jesse or Jesse speaking to Michelle. You do not see both of them in the frame at the same time. It really underlines how they are talking in a way that there is no connection between them. They're talking at the other person without actually seeing the other person. And when Jesse speaks, there's several shots where he seems to be speaking to a wall. Like we literally have the wall in frame blocking out the side of the frame where Michelle would be. And it's literally just him speaking to a wall. He is not seeing her as he speaks about her nominally to her. There is no connection. They're not actually seeing each other. They are on this balcony together, but they are framed as though they are two separate people ranting at somebody they do not see. That was great stuff for me.
Oh yeah, this was the standout scene for me as well in terms of the presentation. Like you said, we don't see them very often in the same frame, but when we do, one is often like boxed in some way, like either framed within a doorway and like put in this subframe within the frame, and just amazing stuff. And I love at the very end, after we've got this like big dialogue about their marriage and their relationship, this big conflict, the last shot that we see of Michelle in this scene is through the railing. Like there's these almost prison bars in front of her face, and just really hammers home this idea that, you know, she was imprisoned in this relationship.
And still is. Yeah. Even though they're divorced, she's still stuck in a prison with him. She cannot get out of it.
Yeah. Brilliant scene.
Absolutely.
You know, I think that The Valley and Vanderpump Rules, you know, these shows that aren't so bound to the format of Real Housewives, they have all this flexibility to kind of play with things, and they do just like such a brilliant job of taking advantage of this looser framework that they have.
Yeah. Oh, we got a little special guest with us on the show tonight, by the way. Surprise special
Yeah,
guest.
I don't know if we can see Ned here, but
I caught the back of his head there. Don't cut this out, Craig. The people need to see Ned. The people crave Ned content.
Okay, yeah. He can stay in. Yeah, amazing stuff. Were there any quotes that stood out to you?
It was pretty classically funny when Jesse's like looking at the pod and he's like, "Oh man, this is so beautiful. It's like Monet." And Luke says, "Yeah. I mean, I've never been to Monet."
Yeah.
That's so good. That's I swear I could hear like Woody Allen and Noah Baumbach or like Wilt Stiltman being like, "Damn, I wish I came up with that exchange." that's gold. That's a really funny exchange. Like it's just good stuff.
Yeah, really good.
I've never been to Monet.
What other highlights did you have?
I do actually really find the discussion they have at the very end of the episode where they get worked up over whether or not it's fair to point out that Danny's drunk. I think that's like a really kind of interesting discussion because it does shade into the idea of them being on a TV show right now and like what is it fair to expect your castmates to do. And I think Brittany has a good point that when she just kind of gets really upset where she's like, "You're all seeing all this horrible shit in my life and this is all going on camera right now and all of this is going out there. You're my castmates, we're coworkers, we're on this same show together.
Yeah.
You do not get to act like, oh, things that are dark and uncomfortable in our lives are not a fair topic of conversation. We gloss them over. We use euphemisms. I see her point of why that would like make her really upset. That Nia kind of thinks that she has the right to expect her friends not to point out that Danny's clearly has a drinking problem, or at least has a binge drinking problem. You know, I don't know if he's drinking every day or whatever, but he's clearly like got runaway binge drinking issues. And when everybody like this, there's so much awful shit in this show. Like the whole thing between Michelle and Jesse, you know, we're talking about it as like great cinema, like because it's so dramatic and it's so well shot and it's so interesting, but it's awful. Like it's horrible. Like these are real people. Well, okay, Michelle's a real person, and they're and we're seeing like these bad, unhappy, nasty lives. And we've obviously seen that with Jax and Brittany too. We've seen some dark, ugly, nasty shit. It is not, I agree with Brittany. It's not fair for Nia to expect to Nia or Daddy to expect that the dark stuff in their life doesn't get to be on camera. Maybe they thought it wouldn't have to be going into the show, but that's what the show has become. Whether they thought that's what the show was going to be or not, that's what the show has become. And you're in there, your coworkers, you know, you're on the same cast. You got to get down in the mud too. Yeah,
I completely agree. Like watching this, when Brittany brings up the fact that, like you said, that it's not fair that they are able to pretend that there's nothing wrong. I was like, yeah, that's like we see this complaint about so many people within reality television, the people that think that they can go on and really self-produce and put out that they're this like, you know, this ideal version of themselves. And it's definitely not fair. And the difference between like what Danny and Nia are putting out there and everyone else is striking. Like it's so like dark. The valley is so dark, and the fact that they're trying to, you know, waltz through here and not get any like mud on their face, no way. I completely agree with Brittany.
Yeah, and it's a part of of what you see right before when they're playing the Who's Your Hall Pass game. And he is like, we live and work in Hollywood. So yeah, we can't answer that question. Like, no, fucking play the game. This is your job. Yeah. Sorry. Like you're doing this too. You don't get to just say, no, pass.
But we saw that when they were playing was the newlywed game or the dating game last season as well. They were really
they refused to answer the question, right? Or like Danny was going to answer it and he is like, nope.
Totally. I love how the editors handled this. So the editors and production team, the way that they were able to kind of shine a light on the absurdity of this in this episode, I think was really good. All the scenes that we see where Nia goes into Danny's room where he's passed out, they've got the audio levels on the snoring like way up, and she's like talking to him as though he can respond to her, and just being like, oh, how are you doing? I see you're just living your best life here, just enjoying life without 3-year-olds, and just beaming this smile as though this is like perfectly fine, and it's like he's clearly passed out and dead. And then she gets out to dinner and someone's like, oh, is Danny coming? She's like, it looks like it's going to be about a 50% chance that he's coming. Maybe.
Yeah, it is funny how she plays it to the camera too by like tying it into like the one thing they keep repeating that they want to be framed as, by being like, oh, I guess it must be nice for you to take your break because we have a busy life with 3 kids, right? Yeah. And he can't hear you. She's just saying that for the cameras. Yeah, that was pretty good. I also another thing that I found Nia funny for this episode. I thought she's becoming more unintentionally funny the more like she feels like out of place and try to avoid things. But it is funny when she tries to comfort Michelle and just feels like completely just like out of her depth. Like Michelle's like in like the 9th circle of hell, like just going through the most awful shit. And Nia just goes over and is like, hi, I heard you were a little upset. Yeah. That's a literal phrase she uses.
You look beautiful. I should take a picture of you.
Yeah. Then kind of rubs her shoulder and says, it will get better. Like, girl, shut up. Like, you don't belong here. Sorry. Like, just you're not helping her abject misery at all.
Any other highlights that we haven't discussed from this episode for you?
Luke was low-key funny too, I thought, for me. There were some good Luke moments. Taking control of the van that breaks down, like immediately going out and be like, all right, let's have to check the coolant or whatever. Goes full dad mode right away. Wants to completely take control of checking everything. Yeah. I of course I already mentioned I haven't been to Monet, which is a line that's going to stick with me. And funny that his rebuttal to Jesse being like, you no culture, is him being like, you not masculine. And then the cherry on top is him saying his hall pass is the Little Mermaid, which is just like sicko shit. Yeah. That's the weirdest fucking creep answer you could give. Like, you could, I don't know, what the fuck was he thinking?
Yeah.
Christian's just sitting there like, all right,
I'm trying to think of something that could be worse than that.
You can't, right? That's the thing, you can't right now. So he kind of subtly had a very good episode around the margins of everything.
Who are your stars from this episode?
I'll give number 1 to Michelle. Huge part of the episode, obviously, but like she's going to war in a way where it's like, I didn't want to have to do this, but now I'm like ready to play every weapon I have, and that's really satisfying to watch, honestly. And I got to give her the first. I feel like I have to. Let's give number 2 to Brittany, because again, I totally took her side at the end, and I like that look from her. Another, obviously they're in similar situations, but also like seeing her like just go like scorched earth angry mode. I like the way that she handles Jesse spreading the lie about Michelle, where she kind of just walks over with Michelle and it's like, was it a lie? And he's like, yeah. And then before he can say anything else, she's like, okay, we're leaving, thanks. Like, just like no nonsense, like just like get on record, you saying it's a lie. Now we're leaving. I'm not going to let you frame it any other way. We're done here.
Yeah.
That was a good showing. Like, that's a good move. So yeah, and third star to Luke for the reasons I just mentioned. Hopefully he makes that trip to Monet someday. And just because we haven't mentioned it yet, just to slip it in there, a negative star to Zach, who proved that he really is demonic.
Oh,
by completely throwing Brittany under the bus at the end there. When Brittany defended him when she should not have, honestly. And he thanks her by completely just throwing her to Nia by just completely like spilling the beans on everything that she was saying. So I just wanted that to be on the record that Zach is demonic. Janet was right. She shouldn't have come around after.
I feel like he feels like he was not defended by Brittany. Like, I don't think he recognizes when he was actually defended by Brittany and feels like she actually threw him under the bus. Like, he keeps referring to the end of last season where Brittany told, was it Janet, that he had to be like taken out of Jax's bar because he was too drunk or something like that, and he feels really betrayed by her in that moment. I actually want to give Zach a star because of how active he has been here, and because of his his two-faced demonic gameplay. I really like that. I think it really spices things up to have this wild card in here, especially because, Kristen can often be that person, but she is a little more low key this season so far. So having someone that is really unpredictable and is able to have that energy, I really like. So I actually want to give him a star, not number 1 star, but I think he deserves at least number 3. Your picks are really good. I need to give a pick to, I think I might have to give one to Jesse just because I find his, I'm just drawn to him as a bad guy. Like, I just find him so purely evil in a way that you almost rarely see in reality. Like, there's like this true evilness to him where he almost feels like a caricature, which is that you would see in fiction, but it's just, he's like so evil. He's like a storybook villain. So I am loving just seeing how awful he is. It is adding a level of darkness to this show that is really making it compelling TV.
We needed a bit of darkness in this show. It's been all sunshines and rainbows. I'm sick of all this bubblegum shit.
Yeah. And you made a really good case for Brittany getting a star. So I think that, that deserves recognition because she's often someone that I kind of overlook, but she woke up in that bed with the French onion dip on the covers and came to play. So I'm appreciating what she's doing.
Absolutely.
Well, let's talk Summer House, but before we do that, just take a moment to hit the subscribe button on whatever platform you're watching us on. If that's YouTube, leave us a comment as well. Tell us what you think. Who are your stars from this episode of The Valley? What are you looking forward to next on this season? And let us know if there's another show that we should be covering. Actually, The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives is back, so I haven't watched that yet, but I'm really interested because I think the last season of that was excellent. So if you want to see us cover that, let us know in the comments. We can pick that up.
Yeah, it's true. We're going to have to put a new show on rotation soon. So let us know which one you want us to do because that's a debate we always have to have. So we want to hear from you what you want us to be talking about.
Or the rehearsal, Nathan Fielder. Just saying.
One day I'm going to get around to that.
Okay, you truly should. I can make you a short list of like what I think you should watch in terms of the like to get some context, and then diving into the rehearsal, because I think it is brilliant. If I can just gush about it for a little bit, this season there's more surreal elements to it. There's one episode that is like very, very surreal, and just how he really plays with the lens of reality TV, I think, is just masterful. So that's my recommendation. Anyone who is interested in reality TV, I think it is definitely worth watching. Sometimes it can be a little bit of a tough watch. It's not for everyone, but I think he has the most brilliant lens on reality TV. So that's my pick. But let's talk Summer House. So Dylan, give us a rundown of what happened here.
So Summer House, we're really at the Jesse and Lexi breakup episode. The maybe the second one. This is the second of I hope just two. I'm not sure I want a third Jesse and Lexi breakup episode. It starts off with kind of the rest of Jesse sitting down with, apologizing with Ciara, getting enough of an apology for him to immediately resume flirting with her. Before they head back to the house, and we get an extended sequence of Lexi getting ready to confront Jesse, and then confronting Jesse to announce the breakup to him.
Yeah,
and the aftermath of that shades into the dinner, the family dinner, with a bunch of sandwiches that Lindsay is for the freedom dinner. Lindsay's freedom dinner. Let's call it by its name, freedom dinner, TM. That she's holding just because, multiple people are free. We're all free in different ways on the anniversary of her separation. Really leading us into a cliffhanger where I think, to me, I would consider it a cliffhanger about whether or not Lexi and Ciara are going to see each other as enemies or not.
Yeah, I'm very curious about how that plays out.
Me too.
That's my number one thing I am excited about on Bravo TV right now, is just to see how this goes down, because it could go one of two ways. And I mentioned before that this week we had a competition as to who the worst person on Bravo is right now, and it's down to two Jessies. So I think there's a good case to be made for Jesse Solomon just being so terrible after watching this episode of Summer House. You mentioned that this is our second episode, our second breakup episode between Lexi and Jesse. Are you happy to be back on the Lexi Jesse roller coaster, or you're ready to get off?
At this point, I mean, there's not much runway left. This has basically been the whole season. It's basically consumed the season. So at this point, I'm like, yeah, let's just finish it off. I feel like it does kind of feel like there's been maybe an absence of secondary storylines that are really engaging, because Jesse Lexi has sucked all the air out of the room. Having said that, I do find it a really interesting relationship, and now that we've gone this far with it, let's see it play out. If only because there's not enough runway left to really start beefing up another storyline.
Yeah, totally. I mean, we've had a little bit of insight into Paige and Craig's relationship,
but not for a few episodes. It seems like we haven't really talked about that recently. I'm sure it'll come back again.
It was just a little
but
dash of salt. Yeah, but you're right. That hasn't come up in a few episodes, so really not very much runway to explore much else. So I feel like we're gonna probably get the resolution to this arc, and that's about it.
Mm-hmm.
What stood out to you about how this episode was presented?
So I mentioned that for me, the centerpiece is not just Lexi breaking up with Jesse, but really this whole runway leading up to Lexi breaking up with Jesse. She introduces the idea when she's in the car, like on the way there, and then she's in the kitchen with the girls talking around about it. I really like the way that this buildup gives a lot of space and attention to her nervousness, to her like trying to get encouragement, and also kind of try to try to pump her own tires up. She's kind of trying out some of the phrases that she wants to use, like, I'm tired of teaching you and stuff. And she's trying to build up the confidence to go in there and confront Jesse, who, as we've discussed in the show, is often with this, this big gangly frame that he has, contrasted with Lexi's much younger, much smaller, frailer frame. Just feels like just so much more physically imposing. Not that I'm saying he's like a threatening figure physically, but that the right. Visual underscores that part of their dynamic, that he is like the older, more experienced, more manipulative guy, and obviously it takes a lot of courage to just go up there and say that from her perspective that I want to break up with him. So I like that the show gives so much space and attention to that. It really puts the audience in her shoes. It really aligns us with her perspective a lot before we go in there. So when we go into it, we're not going into the conversation really, I think, with viewers as like a divided loyalty. I think that really sets us up to be already in Lexi's shoes. And that makes the scene play out a lot better for me. We have the kind of like in-universe spectators too that we get to align ourselves with a little bit too, because the guys are all there turning around their lawn chairs watching, and West is like, I feel
and
like
that happens at the beach at the beginning of this episode as well.
It does, yeah. And West is like, I feel like we're at like a football game, and Kyle's like, I feel like I need binoculars, and that just, I think, makes it a lot more effective when we get little gestures like there's a shot of Jesse's hands. We're waiting for Jesse to respond. Lexi is saying the things that she wants to say, the phrases that she's clearly prepared in her head, just maybe tried out on the girls beforehand. And we're saying, like, how is Jesse going to respond? He's listening. When is the response coming? We get a shot of his hands clasped in his lap, just kind of tightening, a little indication of like, the tension growing, him preparing to respond. He's wearing sunglasses. Then we get the shot of him taking the sunglasses off, revealing his eyes staring back at her. There's tension in this scene, I really like that. And I thought the tension works that much more because they put in the work to really make sure that we're completely seeing Jesse through Lexi's eyes. And that made it a really compelling scene. I was really on the edge of my seat during that breakup discussion.
Yeah, I love the breakup discussion as well. I am really impressed with how Lexi handles herself once again. She is just emerging as like a really strong force on this show, just in terms of how she handles Jesse, because he's a formidable opponent. Because like I said on the last episode that we talked about this, he is so used to talking his way out of situations and, using his words and his charisma in order to like manipulate things in his favor, and she's able to really stand up to that really well. And there are definitely some lines that she has rehearsed, but she's also very quick to come back at him in places and really shut him down. Like, he looks like a marionette who's had its like wires cut when he says, well, obviously I'm not going to fight you about it. And she said, no, I didn't think you would. You never do. And he's just like, just like is deactivated. And I just really love how sharply and quickly she's able to come back at him and really cut him down. I think it's really impressive.
Yeah. Another surprisingly strong performance by Lexi. It will be interesting to see, though, like we mentioned, what the next step will be, because Jesse has a strategy. He has a plan going forward, and that is to play off Ciara and Lexi against each other. I think that's clearly the point of when everybody crowds around him, without Lexi there, of course, and he makes it all about Lexi allegedly being uncomfortable about his relationship with Ciara, which maybe she's talked about at other moments, but which she did not mention once during what we saw of the breakup discussion. You can see he's picked his play. This is how he's gonna make it work, because for him, he wants to make it out of there with one or the other, either with Lexi or Ciara. And he thinks the way to do that is to make sure that they're not allies, but are actually enemies, so that one of them turning against him will turn the other towards him, that one will seesaw towards him if the other seesaws away from him.
Yeah, one thing that's really interesting about this whole thing is after the breakup scene, Lexi goes inside and she's like talking and debriefing with the girls, and she says something to the effect of like, if I only knew myself through like Jesse's perspective this summer, like if that was how I was introduced, the way that Jesse like talks about me, I would think that I was crazy. And Ciara agrees and they laugh about it. And like, this is Lexi saying like, you know, the way that Jesse is framing me is like a crazy person. And then immediately after that, the next scene that we get is when everyone crowds around, and then Jesse does the thing that he's been doing all summer, trying to reframe the narrative surrounding Lexi and, you know, show her as this like crazy person that is, you know, being unreasonable. And it still manages to work because it seems like people are able to like turn things around. And I love that Lexi has identified that this is something that is happening now. And it seems like at the freedom dinner at the beginning, she's able to like kind of cut that down. Like she's able to, you know, Kyle tips her off to that this is happening, and she's able to like kind of cut that line of thought off. And like I said, I'm really interested to see whether Ciara is going to, you know, realize that this is Jesse being manipulative and come around to Lexi's side or not. But I just impressed by how she's navigating this strategically.
And it is a cliffhanger for me, like I said, because the whole time when Lexi's talking with Ciara next to her, like the thought that keeps running through my head is like, don't take the bait, don't take the bait. So, you know, like he wants Lexi to attack Ciara. That plays into his strategy, and at first he's doing a really good job of being like that. I said nothing about Ciara. That's not what we're talking about. Like we're you're not gonna deviate the focus of our discussion. Like that's what she wants to say when she immediately says like, oh, I have a toast that I want to make to Jesse in particular. Not what a toast is, but that's fine. And but then where the episode ends, of course, is when she says like, and that's why, sorry, I don't trust you, Ciara, or something. And then I'm like, oh no, she did it. But we'll see how it goes from there. But like both Ciara and Lexi independently were mostly doing a good job not picking up on Jesse's bait of like seeing each other as enemies. But the strategy might be too strong for them to resist, especially because Ciara is like she's such a like take no bullshit person that I think she can't resist confronting somebody if she believes that they have slighted her in some way. Like that's just her personality, I think, you know.
I think like I feel like the point that she was trying to make was similar to what she was saying in the kitchen after the breakup. Like her perspective is entirely informed by what Jesse has been saying. Like this is the lens that he has been framing Ciara in to Lexi specifically. He has that advantage because Lexi is new to the group. She doesn't know these people. He can immediately he can reframe how Lexi thinks about Ciara. And I feel like the point that she's trying to drive at is like, I'm sorry, I don't trust you, Ciara, and that is entirely because of what Jesse has led me to believe about you. And I'm interested to see if that is how it is ultimately going to be communicated with, because like you said, this is a cliffhanger. We're basically stopped mid thought as far as I can tell, and we don't get to see the rest of what Lexi is saying. So I feel like we're going to get to see her deliver the rest of like the end of this speech, and it is going to, you know, color that line in a way that Ciara is going to see what she is trying to say and not read it as an attack. But really curious to see if that's actually how it goes down.
Yeah, breath is bated.
Another thing that really interests me about Lexi is the relationship that she has with her mom and her sister. And we got just a little bit more of that here at the swimwear preview event when Gabby comes up to Lexi while she's with her sister and asks Lexi, like, oh, how's Jesse doing this week? Do we beat him up or is he doing good? And Lexi's sister jumps in and is like, well, he did buy Mom and I some tequila this week, so he's all good in our books. I just think it's really funny how they like try to intercept this storyline because they, to me, I think they see him as being a real advantageous thing for her career. And it feels like very almost predatory the way that they leech on to Lexi and are almost trying to manipulate her in a way that resembles what we're seeing from Jesse. Maybe that's like a bit bold from my perspective, but I think it's interesting.
I think it is a bit bold, and I like it. Like, their relationship is weird. Her relationship with their mom and her sister is weird. They are too close. I'm sorry. You shouldn't be that close with your family. You shouldn't. You gotta. That's. I don't. It's unhealthy. but she is kind of their product, like we've mentioned before.
Yeah.
Like as much as they are her staff, she is their product, and that's like. That's weird. That's strange. Going to the club with your mom is strange too. Look, I mean, at a certain point, I do actually think it's admirable when people are like really close with their family and their parents, and that's different from my life. I'm not like that. Like true story. I literally remembered to call my mom on Mother's Day recently because I was watching Summer House and they kept talking about Lexi's relationship with her mother, and after like maybe the fifth time they said it, like a little bell rang in the back of my head, and I was like, "Mother, oh yeah," I got one of those. But my sister's kind of like that. She will like tell everything to my mom, and I don't even I can't even fathom that. Like I'm like when I call my mom, it's just me being like, "Yep, oh yeah, good," like. Oh, what's the dog doing now? Who's on dialysis? Oh, no way. I mean, like I get like Lexi's mom is obviously not as old as my mom, so I'm sure they maybe have a bit more things to talk about. But like, yeah, they're probably not in the club, and like Lexi's mom is shouting into the ear of some like fuck boy who's been grinding on her at 3 a.m. Like, I said. Betsy is on dialysis. She probably has like more relevant topics of conversation, TikTok and whatnot. But I don't think it's totally healthy. And I'll take your going too far read even one step further and say that she was primed to be taken advantage of by somebody like Jesse because of her parents.
Yeah,
probably, maybe. Possibly.
It feels like a child star relationship. Like, the child actors that are the breadwinners for the family. It feels like that.
I don't know.
Lexi is the goth son on Home Improvement.
I'm not sure who that is, but I understand the world that he probably belongs to. Yeah, I don't know what age Lexi was when they started her in modeling, but I'm sure it was an age at which they started her in modeling. It wasn't her being like, oh, I'm going to say. I mean, little girls want to do that all the time, sure. But I mean, I feel like she was probably like 5 years old or something, and her mom was like, child star coming through. Let's get you booked.
Yeah, totally. Oh. What other highlights did you have from this episode?
That really did take up most of it. I mean, obviously, Lindsay wanted there to be another storyline, but who cares? Kind of. I just feel like Lindsay is the least over it of anybody ever in history. Like, nobody has ever been less over their breakup than Lindsay is. Like, it's Like when she just like after everything that just happened involving Lexi and Jesse, and her just trying to make this all be like, and now I'm gonna give a good speech about how it's awesome that I broke up from my boyfriend who's sitting across the table from me, and how I've never been happier and how my life is better, and let's just talk about that right now. And everybody's like, Jesus, like who cares right now? Kyle tries to make it a remark, and Amanda's like, don't fucking say anything. We just gotta stand very still, and it'll just pass. Just let it happen. Do not make eye contact.
It's like watching Jurassic Park where they're in the upside down car, and everyone's trying not to move so the T-Rex doesn't see.
Yeah, she can't see you if you don't make a rejoinder.
I love Lindsay for this because, like you said, this season has been slightly bereft of additional storylines, and the fact that, you know, she's able to really just make something out of nothing, I appreciate. And she picks her moments. Like, she will have a dinner specifically for her. It's not so much about the breakup. It's more about her Instagram posts about the breakup. Like that's more of what she's celebrating. So I love her. I think that she is just like she's so crazy, but like it works. It works for me.
Yeah. And when she goes to like, oh, it's also about freedom. Like Lexi, you're free now too, right? Amanda literally starts choking on her food, and she's been trying so hard to just like let this flow over and make sure nobody says anything. And then when she just says like, and Lexi's in the same situation as me, Amanda's like, literally needs the Heimlich maneuver. Like she just swallowed one of those like little sandwich halves wrapped in paper, the whole thing down her throat like a snake.
But Lindsay's one of those people that she just adds there's like a visible addition of tension to everyone. Like everyone's muscles and body language changes when she arrives in the house, especially totally. Carl, but everybody has that reaction. And one of the things that I'm loving about this season is how Paige has kind of adjusted to that. She's the only one that seems to like relax and is like knows how to surf the Lindsay wave and is like happy to do so. And I really like it. They're functioning together in a way that I'm really enjoying, and I love to see it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Did you have any quotes that stood out to you from this?
I'll just flesh out what you said when you mentioned Lexi talking about how like she was imagining how she is seen by Jesse, how Jesse is framing her. Because the actual quote was, I thought, pretty funny, when she's like, you know, if I saw that, I'd be like, oh, this bitch is weird. And Lindsay goes, no. And Ciara goes, no, we said crazy.
Yeah.
That was pretty funny.
There was an exchange that stood out to me that I really liked, or I liked how this was presented. When Lindsay arrives and we're introduced to this Instagram post, West is like, hey, I read your timeline post, just like really just making conversation. And Lindsay just snaps back, you read it or you saw it, and is immediately confrontational. Yeah. I really, really like this, and how it is immediately after contrasted by, I think it's Gabby says to Lindsay right after, is like, oh, hey, I saw your post. Oh no, I think it was Amanda. She's like, yeah, I saw your post, or I mean, I read your novel. And they basically are saying exactly the same thing, but get a completely different reaction from Lindsay. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, at the time with Wes, I couldn't figure out if he was trying to make a dig or not. If by like repeating the word "red," he was trying to be like, "Yeah, there's a lot of words," but if it was supposed to be a dig, he like wasn't being clear about it. So Amanda had framed it much better, because she made it an actual joke by being like, or should I say, read your novel.
Who are your stars from this episode?
It's got to be Lexi number one. I mean,
Oh yeah.
I think she's got to take the crown again. The Queen of Canada it just keeps racking up W's. So we can plan the parade, like the guy in the Boston Pizza commercials likes to say. So that's got to be first. Second star, there's been a lot of people kind of good around the sidelines here. The easy answer would be Jesse, because he's as much almost as much a part of this as Lexi is, though Lexi is the bigger part. Like I said, the show really makes an effort to align our empathy with hers, which I appreciate. I think that's a really good move, especially since she's the newcomer and he's already been on the show. I'll give it a second star to Ciara, maybe. I think I've given her a lot of stars. I don't know if I've ever given her a number one, but I'm sure I've tossed out a lot of 2s and 3s to her, because always like Ciara on the show. Like her interaction with Jesse at the start. I like that she's just kind of, hard with him. She's got those mirrored glasses, which just like kind of, I think, just destabilize him. That's she is a bit of a hard nut for him to crack. And when she's just sitting there, just staring at him, and all he sees is his reflection in those little glasses. She looks like Morpheus. So that's like a great image of like that kind of like power that she has just by being kind of somebody who doesn't put up with bullshit. And I like that when she gets like more worked up, she just sounds more and more Southern too. That's always a kind of a charming thing. So why don't give her the second star? After that, Kyle kind of had a sneaky good episode too. I really like that he is the one who goes and sits with Lexi when everybody else is crowded around Jesse, and then like breaking off into groups to discuss what Jesse said, and really the seed that Jesse planted by deciding how he's going to frame the story really starts to immediately grow fruit. And Kyle is the only person who goes and like sits down with Lexi and is like, "Hey, I think you should know what we're talking about. How you doing?" Surprisingly, like that doesn't seem like a Kyle move, and he seems to regret it right away, because of when she starts getting into like, really, is that what's being said? He's like, oh no, I shouldn't have done this to him. But the fact that he actually does that is like, okay, good for him. Did not expect it from him. So I could maybe give him the third star. I do want to also just quickly a little word on West, because when they have that little conversation in the car, drive into the house between West and Jesse, where West is like, has the summer felt fast for you? Like for me, I felt like I blinked. And it really did kind of like highlight for me that I was like, yeah, man, what's West been doing this season? Like it feels like he really went into this thinking this was all, his storyline was going to be all him and Ciara part 2. And he keeps, even in this episode, he keeps making comments where he's being like, Ciara asked me if I'm going forward or backward when we leave the driveway. That's progress. It's like, why are you still on this, man? Like, this never became a storyline. Like you and Ciara trying to reestablish relationships never became the storyline you seem to want it to be. And I think because it didn't, he doesn't really know what to do. And I really like having West around, partially because he's such a physical guy, almost to the point of absurdity. Like, he loves giving hugs. He loves, especially with Jesse, I think there's a point where you literally see him like tapping Jesse's ass, at one point where he goes to give Jesse a hug and Jesse gives him like a half-ass hug and he's like, both arms. He has such physicality and weird physicality. Sometimes it's just he's lying on the bed next to Jesse in their horrible slovenly room, and he's lying in like the most weird fucking way. He's just like an interesting guy to look at physically. I just kind of wish he sought out maybe a different storyline, because I feel like his presence has kind of been wasted.
Yeah, I wonder if he's going to get another season, because you're right. Like, he is still hammering on this Ciara thing, like it's all that he's got, because it kind of is all that he's got going on. And at a point, it just seems absurd that he is still mentioning this and bringing it up every episode when, she seems to not think about him at all. And this is kind of one of those things, like we've talked when we cover Real Housewives of New Jersey, we talk about how we were talking about how Margaret tried to orchestrate like a freeze out of Teresa, but Teresa was just, so powerful. She was able to have storylines in all sorts of different places, no matter what anyone did to try to like freeze her out. And that's kind of like Ciara is able to have storylines without needing to rely on anyone else. She's involved in this Jesse thing. She's also, been very active whenever we see Paige and Craig's storyline come out, and she's just a constant presence in the house. And, that's just the mark of a multi-dimensional reality TV personality. And, West has been really just trying to make this one story happen, and Ciara has not been giving it air, and he's being kind of like choked out as a result of it. So I'll be interested to see if he gets another season. I want to know if you think he's going to get another season, but I feel like he probably will, just because, like you said, there are things that he brings to the show aside from just storylines, like his physicality. I also think that he reminds me of like Tom Schwartz and Shannon Bedore to a certain extent, in terms of like just unintentionally messy or like people pleasing to the point of like getting into a mess. I feel like he probably will get another season, but I'm curious what you think.
Yeah, I think he probably will too, and I hope he does. Like I said, I like having him around. Jesse's right; he should shave the mustache, and by that I mean he should take a different tack, and that's I think what he failed to do this season. Is he failed to realize that the storyline he had in the previous season was not going to carry through, and he failed to start something new, to start a new storyline where he could be a central figure. But I think they give him another chance, and I hope they do, and I hope he comes back with a different look and a different strategy and does something different.
Yeah, I think it's going to benefit him, the fact that they tried to introduce like 2 other new people this season and they fell flat on their face. There was that girl that was introduced in episode 1. Then we saw her again a little bit later. Bailey? And who knows what happened to her. And then there was also Imrul, who just, had
Imrul I like
orgy
a lot.
after orgy after orgy.
Yeah, Imrul I like a lot. But yeah, he's just become the guy who is also there at the table. He's just the other person who's sitting in a chair who they occasionally cut to. And he goes like, yeah, or says a couple words, and
you just hear him in the next room over, and that's about it. Cool. Well, I think that about does it for this week. Dylan, do you want to let people know where they can find you?
Yeah, I usually use the end of the show to plug my Substack. But I haven't actually had anything new on there for a long time. But I do now. So I've got a new piece about the movie Black Bag, which is awesome. But it's really just kind of meditations on Steven Soderbergh, his career and his relationship to cinema. I think it's pretty good. So if you want to read some of my thoughts about Soderbergh or other movies, my Substack is just under my name. It's free. My name is Dylan Ferguson, so you can just search for me like that.
Awesome. I'm Craig Midwinter. You can find me managing our Instagram and TikTok accounts every so often. Once a week, I will post something. So, and that's not a promise, so don't hold me to that. But it's at Bravo Outsider on Instagram and TikTok. Hit the like and subscribe button. Go to our YouTube channel. That's where we post the video versions of our show. Leave us a comment. Tell us who your stars are, what show we should cover next week. And until next week, keep on wifing.